This is Wandering Universe. Today, I'll be exploring a different pyramid, unlike the others in Egypt. So, let's go exploring. Welcome back. Yes, this is Earth, as you can see, right in front of you. I call it the Big Blue Marble, as beautiful as it is floating out in the solar system. Now, we're going to take a closer look at Egypt, but we're going to explore another pyramid further south from the Giza pyramids. So, come with me. I'm going to spin it around. Let's have a look. Here we are. So we're going right in. Yep, that's Egypt right there. There's the Nile River snaking all the way down into Sudan and further down Africa. But we're not going there today. We're going to explore a different kind of pyramid. Now I'll just show you. As you can see right here, this is the Giza pyramids, just right here, as you can see. Splendid on screen. All right. Now, it looks like the sun is facing in the east direction, so I'd better hurry up and move right along to the actual pyramid I'm going to show you today. So we're not going to explore this. Here we go. I'll just go further down south. Here we go. Just go a little bit out for a moment. The bent pyramid, as you can see, is right here. I'll explore the red pyramid later on. So going a bit further out. And here we are. Now, here's the Nile River. The pyramid is not far from the river itself. This is Meidum, where the pyramid is located, and we're going to go in a little bit closer. So I don't need to type it in the search bar. I know where it is already. So here we go. Just go out a little bit just to show you from a perspective. It's very dry up here, very desolate. And it looks very, very far away from the south of Cairo. It's about 110 kilometers, so it's quite a long drive. Now, we'll go in a little bit closer. So, this is the actual pyramid itself, Meidum Pyramid. Looks tiny, looks very small, but I reckon it was actually taller and a lot larger than what you see right now. There's other sites here. That's possibly either another settlement, an ancient settlement, or it could be another temple settlement. And then going across here, you see the Mastaba. I believe that's Mastaba 17. And you see if you look down here, this gets quite interesting. If you look down here, there's another ancient settlement right there, another one right here. There's other interesting patterns right here that you can see. Not sure what they are, but there it is right there. Maybe that was another ancient settlement, who knows? Including here, there was something along here as well. From here, you see the causeway, the old causeway. And what I found is going a little bit closer, there was, if you can see here diagonally, there was a causeway that stretched out to the Mastaba pyramid. That is very interesting. Now, was there a causeway from the Mastaba pyramid that stretched out to the River Nile? I'm not sure, but I think this one dominates its territory. There's also possibly another causeway right here. There's another line right here. There's a square outline projecting not just around the Meidum Pyramid, but you can see if you follow my arrow, there's another bigger square surrounding the outer area of Meidum Pyramid. So I do believe that the square base underneath, the size of the pyramid, if you follow my arrow, was around this sandy rubble platform. There's a wall around it made of limestone. But I do believe that it stretches further out. There's another surrounding wall that stretches further out from the base of this pyramid. We're going to go in a little bit closer. So as you can see, it's flat on each side, on all four sides, but there's a step, another step here, and then there was another step, a square, some sort of square block on top of the flat surface of this pyramid. It could have been the actual apex, but that's just a theory of mine. Now, I am going to give you a little display. Are you ready for it? All right. Here you go. Enjoy. Now you had a good closer look. Spin it around, and there you have it. Right in front of you. Yes, it's still there in Egypt, and it's not going away anytime soon. I can assure you of that. And now we're going to explore this geometric wonder right here. Enjoy. The enchanting world of ancient Egypt. How can you resist? A human temptation to go in search of the unknown, hidden within the ginormous relics of ancient past, saturating our curiosity for the mystical and mysterious. It has been our human obsession placing these pyramids as our center of the universe, an infatuating love affair. An impression in our psyche, giving us a view into the universe. Yet, there are other pyramids besides these beauties snaked along the Nile River that do share its unique geometric engineering. Let's take a look at this oddly shaped pyramid situated further south from Cairo. This pyramid, yes, this hunk of a mighty structure sits 110 kilometers south region of Beni Suef Governorate near the township of Meidum. From a distance, it looks alone in a barren wasteland. It shares its symmetry with other neighbouring partners like Mastaba 17, a mortuary temple, and more other smaller pyramids scattered across the desert. It adopted kindly to other names like Meidum, False, and Meidum Pyramid. It's one-of-a-kind masterpiece, tall, slender, and elegant, showcasing its classical style of steps that climb in a swirling motion to the flat top. This pyramid stands at 65 metres tall with a wide platform base of 114 metres. The sand below hides its true pyramidal base. The walls are smooth and upright. The horizontal brickwork around the structure validates its engineering. Meticulous on the outside, uneven placement underneath the cased walls. However, this pyramid has stood the test of time and survived the harshness of changing climate. The ingenious colour changes reflected along the walls display its red and yellow limestone from the reflection of the sun. Here's Hugh Newman from MegalithomaniaUK talks briefly about its structural design.
So we're just at the Meidum Pyramid here in Egypt for the first time. First time I've been here with Jim and Youssef and JJ and the crew. It's a huge site. It's much bigger than I thought, much bigger. There's also a chamber we're going to look at, and also there's a Mastaba which has got some remarkable interior we're going to check out as well. And it's been linked with various pharaohs. Seneferu is supposed to be his third pyramid in some reports, but there seems to be a much earlier phase, a megalithic phase, like we find at many other sites like Hawara here at Meidum. Meidum Pyramid is one of the oldest pyramids in Egypt. It's said to be the second pyramid built after Saqqara around 2700, 2600 BC, although it could be slightly younger than that. Interestingly, originally it would have had the same shape as the Great Pyramid, but what we can see today is quite different. You can see in this image here that it's like a step pyramid between 7 and 8 layers. Only about 3 you can really still see today, but it would have had a casing over it, so it would have looked like a smooth classic style pyramid. Now we have this huge base on it as well, and it appears that there was like a sort of huge kind of platform there which spread much wider than the original pyramid, with a kind of step structure on top, which again later, according to archaeologists, then it was like added to create smooth sides.
Okay, from a distance it stands out like a lonesome structure, but as you get closer it's a towering feat of engineering. Flinders Petrie surveyed this pyramid to once have been a 95-metre tall structure. Only its sandy base makes it deceptively smaller. It is highly implausible that the outer casing collapsed due to dodgy construction. On the contrary, this skyscraper-looking pyramid never had a triangular outline. Meidum's construction design is compared to Dosa Pyramid, Nalanda Pyramid in India, and Ziggurat Pyramid in Iraq, but less bulky and more slender. It has 4 steps bulging to the flat top, including the crumbled apex seated on top of the 3rd step. A causeway leads directly to the bank of the Nile. The 2 large mastabas are adjacent to the pyramid, and there are numerous stone coffins laid neatly several meters away from the pyramid. The story goes that King Huni, Seneferu's father, commissioned the structure at the end of the 3rd dynasty. In turn, Seneferu finished it off in a dopey fashion, meaning he wasn't entirely sure what he was doing. So this would rule out a design flaw in the construction. Over the thousands of years, the crumbled flat-top apex was a square body. If you look closely, the steps were covered in a rather thick layer of limestone casing, giving the apex a very long and sharp point. Its geometric formation wasn't the creation of a sloppy handiwork. It's a master construction. Don't let the underlying brickwork deceive you. Each limestone block was precisely cut and stacked with no gaps. No mortar, no cement, no gap filler required. Each stone block would weigh between 10 to 50 tons each. The yellow limestone casing wall platform demonstrates a smooth stucco-like finish. The smooth, walled, towering slopes bend slightly at right angles from the top view. Flinders Petrie surveyed the site and came up with geometric dimensions that suggests the golden ratio was applied for the 7:4 ratio, with angles at 51.84 degrees or 51.50 degrees. These measurements go hand in hand with the bent pyramid, yet its proportions are alike to the Giza pyramids. Here's Hugh Newman giving a rundown on the stone construction.
Stones, and even that village in the distance is actually made from these stones that came from the pyramid. Here we see one of the lower levels which you climb up to. This is actually just inside the corridor as you go down to the base and an actual chamber, which is pretty much at ground level. But look at the quality of the stonework. It's a whole different level to what you see when you continue walking down the passage down to this chamber. Now, it's really interesting. So you have this really high quality at the first levels of the entrance, and then it gets worse. And the rest of the pyramid, it's kind of limestone. It's very neatly carved, but lots of it's been damaged. It's been shattered. And when you actually get into the chamber itself, you realize there must have been more here. There's even suggestions, and I was talking to Yusuf Awian about this, who's in this video, and he suggests there may be many more chambers. So we've reached one level here, and we're about to climb up to the main chamber, the only one really that exists within the actual pyramid.
Many archaeologists carelessly oversight the concept of bedrock beneath Meidum. There is a high probability that it does house more than one chamber. And we're not talking about the Leaning Tower of Pisa here. From the top view, according to this drawing, it shows a square outline and 3 rhombus steps. These 3 steps are slanted slightly towards the right between half to 1 degree. Would you call this a construction flaw? It is possible that it's assembled in this manner to configure a star alignment. And what about the sand rubble heaped around the structure? That was done by 2 factors: sandstorms and excavations done by Petri and his gang to partition a clearing for a better view of the structure. It's no surprise that there's no actual date of the construction written on any wall in the complex, nor reveal the true identity of the architects, engineers, property developers, town planners, and most importantly, power engineers who wired the area. Is it possible that this pyramid and others contain quartz buried underneath them? The north entrance takes you down to a very steep and narrow 54-metre tunnel with only a 3-metre height opening. Then you enter a horizontal passage leading you to the first chamber. At first glance, the limestone walls on the surface look rough and a rocky mess built by dodgy builders. But upon close inspection, these are large stone blocks fitted precisely in place and sealed tight. No air gaps. After you've had your moment of fascinating silence, you step into another horizontal passage and climb up a wonky, creaky wooden staircase. Within the well's shaft, there are huge log beams protruding from the sides. If you look very closely, there is cement plastered along the end edges of them. So, that's a history recall. Cement filling shoved in the ends of these wooden beams? How can that be so? Cement was used during the Roman Empire, then disappeared off the face of the earth until around the mid-1800s. Does this suggest that this was an introduced technology brought over long before the Romans got hold of it? Here's Hugh exhibiting this find.
You can see here, this is the natural bedrock right here.
So yeah, you can see it there. So that's actually the...
And you can see some logs of wood that is brought from Lebanon. Original was the structure or ancient renovation. We find also the same one inside the Bent Pyramid, the higher chamber, which is mysterious to archaeologists.
Let us ponder that seed of thought whilst you climb up the wonky, creaking wooden staircase. As you brace yourself, you'll get a glimpse of the top of the corbelled ceiling. Interestingly, there is a large alcove type of hole jutting out below it and aligns directly to the top of the ceiling. If you look closely at this photo, there is a leftover wooden splint wedged underneath the hole and just above it the head of a corroded iron nail. And what makes it more bizarre is the abnormal outline shape may have slotted a structural beam. Look closely at this picture. There are 2 to 3 formed lines stamped onto the surface of the iron nail. Iron corrodes when exposed to moisture that forms the rusted red colour. So, you're finally having your slack-jaw moment. I see. Well, come to think of it, I'm not at all surprised by this. This shows humans didn't kickstart the Iron Age until between 1000 and 500 BC. Nails came onto the scene until around 1000 BC, mostly for weapon making. By 1590, mass production kicked off the construction boom. So, are we missing something here? Whilst you let this curious wonder brew in the back of your mind, let's climb up the narrow wooden staircase to enter the echo chamber. Its acoustics echoes like a musical instrument as it reverberates to the ceiling. These core-belled patterns adjust to the measure of pitch and volume harmonizing chorus. It is only 5.9 meters by 2.65 meters in size, small enough to set up camp. The core-belled ceiling is shaped in a triangle formation, with each stone panel lined up precisely. Even the back brick walls show no air gaps. It's a tight fit. And if you're not afraid of creepy crawlies, there is a lot of them crawling along the top of the ceiling, humbly putting on a show and dance for the tourists. Here's Hugh showing his awestruck moment in the main chamber.
So we're just inside the chamber inside the Meidum Pyramid. It's got the corbelled roof, which you can see just above me there. And this is something we find in most pyramids, actually. It's really intriguing. And this is like half in the bedrock, half in the pyramid, so it's like on ground level. And where are the rest of them? This is the only chamber, apparently, within the whole pyramid. And it's the Old Kingdom, possibly the father of Sneferu or himself. No one really knows who it was for, what it was for. But on the outside, you can see these 7 steps, but actually it was a flat-faced, very high pyramid.
In this chamber, what's also interesting is that not only can we see the beautiful corbelled roof and the way that these chambers are constructed in many of the pyramids, but there was actually a sarcophagus in here. However, when Flinders Petrie came in here in the late 1800s, the sarcophagus was actually a wooden one, and it wasn't very big, it wasn't impressive.
A wooden beam was planted across the top of the ceiling, wedged tightly into the wall. There is another wooden beam to the right, but it's been neatly cut off almost to the end. It's been left jutting out with a clean, smooth surface. This would indicate that no metal saw was used, as splinters would be present along the outer edge. If you have a look at this photo, it shows an inscription of some kind etched on the surface. Along each side, there are a few cut-out square-shaped holes indented along the white limestone walls. If you look up to the top ceiling, other than a wooden beam, there is an iron rod wedged strongly into the walls. How do I know this? If you look closely at this photo, you see rusted ends except along the rod. It looks fresh as a daisy. Was there moisture trickling inside the chamber? A second iron rod is wedged strongly into the walls. Its ends have also rusted, yet they both perfectly align to each other. I'm not sure if these iron rods were fitted by Petrie and his mates during the 19th century excavations. I'm aware they had to remove tons of rubble and stone blocks to access the temple entrance. Or was it placed there during the 1799 Napoleon's Curiosity Show? It's remarkable the condition of these items are still kept untouched for thousands of years. Even wood discoloration deceptively make it appear to have been placed there recently. They were sourced from Lebanon and voyaged all the way along the Nile River for its fitting. No granite box, no human remains, no hieroglyphs, no artifacts were ever found. According to Petrie's account, he found a violently torn apart wooden coffin. He saw wooden pieces scattered along the floor. Although the chamber is made from Tura limestone, the thought of dragging it on wooden sleds from south of Cairo to Meidum just seems too far-fetched. And besides, the ancient Egyptians weren't master engineers on core-built architecture and construction. You must be wondering, who built Meidum Pyramid? Well, it's a good question. I will answer that later down the track. And I bet all the Bitcoin in the world, like other pyramids, that this pyramid has subterranean tunnels beneath Meidum Pyramid. Not one construction tool of any kind was found inside and outside Meidum Pyramid. This pyramid was a master construction built by master builders. The interior shows no humidity, no dampness, no moisture. The entire structure outside and within are sealed airtight. Given the circumstances the wooden beams and the iron rods were in, it's astounding they have not completely rotted away to dust. Truth is, no one knows who actually wedged them tight into the limestone walls. And there was no outer casing on the entire pyramid. Only the top 4 steps were lightly covered, the rest were left as it is. And why weren't the wooden beams removed by the end of the construction? There is not enough substantial evidence to prove that the ancient Egyptians were incredibly proficient property developers that managed large-scale projects. The ancient Egyptians weren't heavily involved in the mass production of smelting iron. They had no prior knowledge of the chemical elements to create steel. The only evidence that shows ancient Egyptians used iron around 3200 BC were small beads. That's as far as they went. Iron production is a complicated process of removing most impurities from the iron ore, depending on the amount of carbon added or extracted at the right melting temperature. Mass production of steel, such as structural beams, didn't make its way in history until 1849. Chromium is added to prevent it from rusting. That happened around 1798. So, what's going on? I'm telling you what's going on. These nutjocks are keeping us in the dark, persuading us to believe what they've been told to say to you. And if I were you, I'd take it with a grain of salt on their wisecrack explanations and breathe in some honest-to-goodness insight you've just witnessed. Limestone is a natural sedimentary rock containing shells or coral, formed from microscopic marine organisms, formed around spring or waterfalls, found around high-temperature areas such as tropical seas or lagoons. Would this suggest that the building construction didn't occur around Senefu's time, but way before? Even the 2 steles from the roof of the temple entrance show no inscription of Senefu and his building team. They look more like small obelisks used for a different purpose other than commemorating a king. Senefu, like the kings before him, were all born with pampered egos, who spent most of their time getting their egos polished to a high mirror shine, glamorizing it as bodacious to the masses. Risk-taking wasn't an option. They rarely travelled outside their safe space in search of a burial site. Neither did his parents. So, why assume these pampered elitists built the pyramids?
We know that we're finding, elements of very sophisticated technology, and this is interesting because they're often under the ground. And it's also, we must look at the shape and size of this pyramid is really interesting, because originally it would have had the same kind of ratios and dimensions, and it almost would have looked exactly like a smaller Great Pyramid. So what is going on there? Was this a precursor? Was this like one of the ones they were building to kind of get used to how to design the Great Pyramid? It's almost like a practice run where they were building this huge platform with these kind of, these towers on top, and then building the actual flat-sided pyramid around the edge. But overall, there's a lot to see here at Meidum, and it really is a mystery because it doesn't seem like it was Snefru. It doesn't seem like it was his predecessor. It could be much older. And to me, it has trademarks of the same builders as the Giza Plateau, although it looks like it was almost like abandoned. It was almost partly destroyed, whether that was to do with acoustics, whether that was just because of the construction, they got a bit wrong. These kind of things could be a possibility, but when we're dealing with ancient Egypt, we don't find that many mistakes. We find precision engineered. We find a real element of understanding architectural design and megalithic construction, even deep under the ground, as well as the pyramids up on the surface. The archaeological reports of Flinders Petrie, who was a genius in my opinion, and also he looks into the numbers and the specific geometry which are really present here. There's a real strong evidence that they had a high understanding of sacred number science, which was incorporated into the design not only of Meidum, but also the Great Pyramid.
I do not believe this ancient skyscraper was built for the sole purpose of burying a king or queen. Ask yourself, did they truly deserve such a burial? To this day, the wooden beams and the corroded iron rods were never carbon dated. I find it weird that they were singled out without taking a small sample for further analysis. Or was it done beforehand, but the results have contradicted their theories that it is far older than they were publicised? Meidum never suffered engineering flaws. It was purposely built as it is. Its geometric dimensions display its accuracy without hint of error. This shows the ancient Egyptians were no experts on pyramidal construction. It's possible they simply were not interested like the Chinese. So, what's going on? Why so many contradictory theories? Only one theory is a cut above the rest. This pyramid, like many others, were not built by us. The others did. In the next video, I'll be heading back to Down Under to re-examine closely the construction design of Gympie Pyramid and who possibly built it. That's all for now.